But one thing I want to emphasize is there's a sub-chapter in here in these chapters that's about how basically how every problem that we have as a culture, we are inflicting on animals for food. And I think this is what I'm kind of been talking about. But I'll just give you a couple of examples of this because this is really interesting. A lot of it has to do with the way we treat, especially female animals. I think the thing to understand that from the very beginning of this project, or this curse, of owning animals for food, it's always been the female animals that have been by far the most horribly abused. Because it's the female animals that give birth to babies and nurture those babies. And so from the very beginning, it was men trying to figure out, basically doing this, I think this is the original sin of this culture, how to manipulate the uteruses and mammary glands of female mammals and birds later for their own ends. You know, to have babies that would have more fur, give more milk, be more meaty, and then always stealing the babies from the mothers, and then just this whole, and then injecting them or having them, just this whole thing of forcing them to be pregnant, just completely stripping them of the sovereignty over their bodies. And the same thing, of course, they did to the women in the culture as well, because whatever we do to animals, we do to each other. That is the underlying principle that I've seen is absolutely has never ever been not happened. I mean, which is, we have to really take that seriously now that we're microchipping all the livestock. But some examples of this are the obesity epidemic, for example. We have this, graph going like this of obesity. And what are we doing to animals raised for food? It's the same thing. I mean, as technology has advanced, we've learned better and better how to make animals raised for food very, very fat, very, very quickly. We give them special feed, special hormones, and you can get a chicken now in just 40 to 42 days, fat enough to be, huge. Their legs break underneath them. They're so fat. Because that's and turkeys with these gigantic breasts, and so we sow seeds of obesity in animals, and we reap obesity in ourselves. We sow seeds of pretty much every disease we have in animals, and we reap it in ourselves. One of the most really interesting ones is osteoporosis, which again is another epidemic. And if you look at what we do to females, because it's mostly women who get osteoporosis severely, female animals, mainly the ones who are hyper-confined for milk and for eggs, have severe osteoporosis because they're forced to give a lot more milk and a lot more eggs than they ever would in nature.